Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our second episode of AI for Pastors. We have a lot of good stuff lined up for tonight. I hope you will be encouraged and blessed by this time. If maybe you're new to AI for Pastors, really what we're hoping to do is just to help. I studied artificial intelligence and its use in pastoral ministry through my doctorate program, and there's a lot of benefits, and there's a lot of things that there's pastors who are wearing lots of hats and are working really hard and doing great work for the kingdom of God. And there's a lot of tools that are being developed right now that can really help aid and support pastoral ministry. But there's ethical conversations, and there's some concerns regarding the use of artificial intelligence. So this is a channel that is seeking to answer those questions, to be able to teach some tools and provide some tips, but also to be able to provide a moral and ethical framework for how to use these different tools. And so I'm glad you tuned in. Tonight we're gonna spend about an hour together. We're gonna get to hear from a perspective on the use of AI in specifically youth ministry. We have a youth pastor who's going to join us in just a little bit, as well as a couple other things. We're gonna really tonight. I want to just kind of cast the vision for this channel, and I want to communicate what I hope that we'll see this be a community where we can engage with one another, where you can ask questions, and we can hopefully, I'd love to see us tackle those questions on stream together. And so there's a lot coming up tonight. We're going to talk about how to craft better prompts and how we can actually utilize these tools the best. There's just some practical skills that we're going to look at as far as how to utilize things like ChatGPT and Gemini, and how to produce the best results. And so there's really kind of a skill there that I want to show you guys exactly how to do that. And so we're going to jump right in just a moment. We're gonna kick this off, and then I'm going to introduce some friends, and we'll get right into it. All right. Well, I've got some friends here. We have Corey Evans, who is returning. He was with us just last night. You guys are getting a twofer. Typically, we do not do streams every day. This is not a regular occurrence. Do not get used to it. We're aiming for once a week, but last night we really tried to kick off this kind of stream with our first episode. The goal, we're hoping to kind of move into Sunday nights being the regular time slot for this. And so if you're marking it down on your calendars, this would be the time: 8:30 Central Time, 6:30 Pacific Time on Sundays. Again, I'll just mention, and I'm going to mention this a lot, but I'd really encourage you, if you haven't subscribed already, to subscribe to the channel. There's a lot changing. There's a lot being introduced. But also make sure you hit that notification bell, because we might change times, and we can't guarantee exactly when we're going to start and stop every week. All of us have full-time jobs. This is not a business for us. This is a ministry for us, where we're trying to help smaller churches, under-resourced churches who can't afford full-time secretaries and office administrators and graphic designers, and there's lots of tools to be able to help with that. So this is kind of a side project hobby for us, and so we will do our best to be punctual. But again, hitting that notification bell makes sure that you'll never miss out on anything. And so we have Corey Evans, who is returning from last night. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a congregant at my church. He's also the founder of Creative on Commission, a creative writing website where they can be commissioned to write spiritual and Christian dramas and plays and scripts, and he can share more about that in just a moment. But we also have Noah Richtick, who's joining us, and I'm gonna interview him a little bit more one-on-one a little later. He's a youth pastor out of California, and so I'm excited to have both of them on the channel. Did I introduce you guys well? Did I miss anything? Can you test your mics and make sure that they're working?
I'm good with that introduction.
All right. Well, that's it for the stream.
Well, and that's it. Yeah,
we completed it.
No, yeah. We're going. Yeah, you got pretty much everything. Creative on Commission. But I like the short version of the elevator pitch is that We are an online service that writes biblical scripts and plays and kids programs specifically tailored to churches' wants and needs. And you know me, I'm very verbose, so trying to get that down to a short one sentence thing was very difficult.
Yes. Well, thank you guys for both taking the time to be on the channel and to be able to serve. And I'll mention here in this kind of first segment where we're going to kind of talk about what is AI for pastors, what is this channel. This isn't just a YouTube channel. We're going to talk about a Discord server. We're going to talk about a Facebook page and all sorts of other things. And we even have a website that we're working on. And so the hope. We'll kind of go over the hope, but I want to mention the reason I have Corey and Noah here is because not only are they dear friends of mine, and they're also both in ministry in different forms and fashions, but they're also kind of helping, they're kind of behind the scenes admins for me, and so they're going to be highly involved in this channel throughout its however long the Lord allows us to continue to do this, and as long as we're continuing to meet needs and able to help people, we'll continue to do it. If you do find something helpful, please let us know and mention it in the comments. That way we know, hey, that actually landed, or that was helpful. We don't necessarily know that all the time. And so, and that also echoes if there's content that you want to see, if there's something regarding artificial intelligence that you struggle with in pastoral ministry or in church context, comment that down below, and we'd love to maybe incorporate that into future content for you. And so just please, we want to be engaging, but Corey and Noah will probably be a part of a lot of these live streams in the future, not necessarily every week, but you'll certainly see their faces throughout. So we want to make sure that we introduce them well, and that you know their faces and you know a little bit about them. And so with that, what I want to do, I'm gonna switch views here for a second, and I want to just share where this whole channel has come from. And Corey, Noah, you guys can feel free to interject and cut me off, and if I'm missing something or if I misspeak. But you know, so this whole thing kind of came from my studies when I was pursuing my doctorate, and I remember thinking back to in the early 2000s when social media was first kind of get kicked off, and there was a lot of hesitancy in the church world regarding should churches use social media, or is it bad? I mean, if you go even back further to like the 90s when the actual internet was kind of kicking off, and should churches be involved in the internet and all these different things. And so I just remember when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to research in my doctoral studies, I wanted it to be something that would make a difference, would be impactful, and would genuinely help the church. And so I just remember thinking how helpful it would have been if in the early 2000s somebody had studied social media and its use cases in the church at a doctoral level. Like that would have really helped the church, because all churches are now using social media. It's a primary method of outreach. That's where we're reaching a lot of people. And so you're watching this on social media right now. And so that was really where it kind of started for me, was, okay, that would have been helpful. And at that point, as I looked around it, we don't have to go far to see the words artificial intelligence in the news. It is obviously the biggest move in technology. It's being integrated into everything. It's evolving at a pace that we can't even keep up with. And there's a lot of use cases for it. And it's a really helpful tool. But there's also a lot of hesitancy and concerns and ethical kind of quandaries that we have to kind of navigate. And so I was like, that's what I want to do. I'm a techie guy. I was already using a lot of these programs, and I said, let's study this at a deeper level. And so that started the doctoral process, and ended up I graduated with my doctorate in ministry last year, and I just want to keep this conversation going. There's pastors who, again, as I mentioned in the live stream last night, even if you as a pastor don't want to use this technology, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But you need to at least understand it, because your congregants are going to be using it. Your congregants' kids are going to be using it. And there's going to be challenges that come from this technology. And we as pastors need to be prepared to be able to best shepherd and steward our flock. And so if for no other reason than just for academic understanding what AI is, I hope this channel will be of service for you. If you're wanting to actually learn how to do some of the things that you're regularly doing, maybe in a an easier, more efficient way. Just because something's easier doesn't mean it's wrong. And so there's a lot of tools that we can use to really unburden some of the time constraints that we have in pastoral ministry in church settings, to allow us to open up and spend our time doing the things that are most important, the spiritual components of pastoral ministry, the prayer, the pastoral care, the visits, and all that kind of stuff, sermon preparation. And so that's really the heart behind all of this. And then the question then, and Corey and Noah have been a part of this from the get-go, answering the question of, well, what's going to be the best way to do this? And the reality is there's no shortage of YouTube videos out there that you can go watch on how to use ChatGPT. And so what we hope this becomes, what we hope that AI for pastors will be, is a hands-on experience for you to be able to engage and to be able to learn what it is that you want to learn. And so what I would love to see happen is, if you have a question about how to use ChatGPT to refine your church's operation policy manuals or procedures or constitutional bylaws, or how to use AI to create your next sermon title slide, whatever it is. Pastors are not graphic designers, but we're kind of expected to be graphic designers now. And so I would love to see either you in the Discord putting that out there as a content suggestion or as an AI question, or putting it in the comments here in the live stream, and then we can just do that on the live stream. I would probably stop what I'm doing and we'd go and I would just we'd work on that, and then probably send you the PDFs and the images to you, either through Discord or some other means. But we want that level of collaboration. And that's what I love about, and I'll just piggyback over here to I know Corey, we talked yesterday. Corey is my kind of like, he's a self-proclaimed skeptic. And Corey was really hesitant. And that's why I brought him in early in my doctoral studies, was because, we don't want to just search for yes men. We want people to ask hard questions and to be able to challenge us and say, I don't think that that's ethical, or I don't think that that's appropriate, or I don't think that that has a place in pastoral ministry. And so Corey's able to, I think we've swung him a little bit, but maybe not all the way yet. And Noah, I don't actually know the extent of Noah's use of AI, and so we'll get to dive into that a little deeper during our one-on-one. But just back to some of the plans for this channel. Obviously, we're going to be streaming weekly on Sunday nights. Our goal in each stream is to have kind of a main subject. Last night we talked about just should churches use AI. Tonight we're kind of pausing a little bit, and we're more casting the vision for this channel. Each week we hope to have some interviews. Whether it's people from seminaries, whether it's pastors like Noah here, whether it's professors, whether it's therapists, whether it's just congregants, all sorts. We want to have thought leaders be able to give some unique perspectives on this subject. And then each week we also want to just give a practical tutorial, a practical tool that you can use. And so we're going to do that tonight. In a little bit, we're going to look at how to craft good prompts to be able to best utilize these different AI platforms. And so before we jump into this one-on-one with Noah, I do want to mention, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It does help us out a lot. Our goal is to reach as many people as possible. The more pastors that we can equip to not only utilize the technology, but to utilize it ethically and in a healthy way, I believe that we can accomplish more kingdom work, and that's really the goal. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't joined our Facebook page, you can search us up on Facebook. The link is in the description, as well as the link to our Discord server. I will be the first to say I'm not really super proficient with Discord, so we are learning through a lot of this as we go. But I hope to see some of you in the Discord server. You'll be able to engage with myself and with Corey and Noah, and ask questions and provide testimonies and provide some content suggestions. I think that's it. Am I missing anything? Noah, Corey, regarding kind of, I talk to them a lot, so they kind of hear the organic version of a lot of this. But is there anything I'm missing in kind of this summary of what we hope AI for pastors is and what it will become?
I think you got it. What do you think, Noah?
I think he got it too. I mean, I know the biggest part that we've all talked about, the three of us, is just making it a community and a collaboration, because without each other, like, then it's just the three of us talking to each other. And like, that's, we want it to be more than just the three of us and actually impact the kingdom rather than just keep it to ourselves.
I mean, I'll sit here and talk to myself. That's fine. But
we know that.
It'd be a lot better to be able to engage with the people that we're actually seeking to help. And so hopefully some of you guys will join us in the comments. And we know that a lot of the way that YouTube works is, we make clips from these things. And so you'll see more content that come from these live streams. But if you ever want to actually interact with us in real time, the live stream is going to be the way to do that. So we'd love to start seeing some more of you guys pop into our live stream. But there will always be more content posted after as well. So if you're not able to make the live stream, you should still be getting lots of it'd be good for you to be plugged into the YouTube channel and Discord. And so with that, I'm going to kick Corey out for just a moment. And I'm going to and I'm going to just have a nice little conversation here with Noah. So Noah, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell them how far back we go and where you're at now. Man. And then I have some questions that will kind of lead our discussion here.
We go pretty far back. It's what, 10-ish years now, I think.
At least, yeah.
It's been quite a while now. So Brandon was actually my young adults pastor at our old church here in California as well, before he decided to abandon us and go to North Dakota. I'm just kidding. But no, it's been a pleasure to know him. He's actually one of the people who's been helping me through school and seminary right now, because I'm working on my master's at the moment, and he's been helping me with that. And he's been a big tool with that. And he actually married my wife and I. So that was fun. I didn't have a picture ready. I was going to pull up a picture, but he married my wife and I. So we go quite a ways back, it feels like. But I'm a youth pastor out here in California. I didn't move out of the state. I got
not yet. We'll get you.
I know you're trying. You've been trying hard lately. But God willing and God thankfully that he put me in a wonderful place where I'm at right now. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
That's all I got.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to join us. And so we'll just jump right in. So really this time, I think we just thought it would be good to get to hear from specifically a youth pastor's perspective regarding artificial intelligence. And so as I mentioned, I don't know to what extent you're using AI. I don't know to if you're hesitant or if you're on board or so we're going to kind of roll with the punches as we get them here. But so I just have some questions here that I want to ask you, and I sent these over to you ahead of time. But so really, what are your initial thoughts when you hear AI in ministry? And again, this is coming from a youth pastor.
Yeah, I think it's kind of what you guys had talked about last night, to where it's all about the heart behind it. I mean, I also teach our students all the time. It's anything with our relationship with God. It's got to start with the heart, and that includes the tools and the products that we put out. If it's not coming from the heart, then don't do it. Don't use it, kind of thing. If you're using it with bad intentions, it's obviously not the way to go. And so with AI, I think I'm on the opposite of Corey, where I'm not a skeptic, but I'm not fully on board with it, but I'm more on board than I am a skeptic. So I think I'm like how Corey is in that line. I'm just what the opposite is of more on board, but I'm still trying to figure it out at the same time.
Yeah. So are there some ways that you're currently utilizing AI in your week to week? And so part of this is also you mentioned you're in seminary as well. And so that's kind of like a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
AI is getting a lot of column inches in the world of academics, and some teachers and professors are leaning in and they support it, and some teachers are using AI to develop curriculums and trying to go the route of teaching people to use AI correctly in the classroom, and some teachers go the other way and just kind of blanket ban. And now some classes are going back to you have to write things by hand with pen and paper because that's the only way to know that it was actually written by you. And so, so what are some ways that you're currently using AI, or if you are? It sounds like you are to some degree.
Yeah, so the big two ones is just ChatGPT. I mean, I feel like everybody uses it nowadays. It's kind of hard to almost not use it, with just in the world that we're in now. And the other one that I've found really useful, especially this calendar year, was Canva AI, because they have really pumped out, Canva AI, where they've pumped out a lot of kind of new and cool stuff of just helping with images and getting you started to where you want to go. Those are pretty much the only two. I mean, you got your small stuff and like Google and whatnot, but
it's starting to integrate into everything. I mean, even
really
like
is.
the new iPhone updates have the new Apple Intelligence and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so ChatGPT is obviously kind of the front runner right now. We joked about it on the stream yesterday. Sometimes you just got to be the first. Sometimes you just got to be the first one, and they were really the first one to market generative AI to the public. And then since then, it's been a rat race. Google has Gemini, Meta has their Meta AI. That's Facebook. And but even the things I just had overheard a conversation with somebody this morning. I was teaching a Bible study, and they didn't even realize that I do all this, and they were in an encouraging way talking about how cool it's been when you go on Google now and you Google something, that it now provides that AI summary at the top. At the time, you don't even need to search for the thing you were searching for anymore. And so, AI is definitely just integrating itself into everything. But so you mentioned ChatGPT. What are some ways that you're using ChatGPT? Like, so what are like some practical applications that you've found yourself using ChatGPT?
So kind of the two biggest ones is obviously with sermon prep. I know you guys talked about it quite a bit yesterday with, you uploaded your whole sermon and just like, how would this fit with, I think it was a single mother, something like that. I've done things like that where it's like, how would this relate to a high schooler? I've done that a couple times before. I've done it to where it's like, what verses can I use for this thing? And kind of how you guys talked about it yesterday. I kind of go a step further. I go and read those verses on my own. Then, does it actually fit? Does the context of the verse fit as a whole? Rather than just saying, "Oh, this is a cute little verse."
So I'm curious. In that, have you found instances where what ChatGPT produced was actually inaccurate from a scriptural like hermeneutic standpoint, or have you found it to be pretty? I mean, obviously, we don't want to lead people to overconfidence, but have you found it to be pretty reliable when it comes to?
I would say it's like 80-20. I think it really depends on what you're searching for and kind of what we're going to get into today. It's like, what is your prompt going into it? I mean, I know me and you have always joked about the Philippians 4:13 verse where it's, I can do all things through Christ, and everybody always takes it out of context. And, there's a few times where ChatGPT also gave it to me out of context, but it feels like such a common thing to where I'm like, I don't know if I can really fault ChatGPT on that or people where it's getting from kind of thing. And so there's been some other ones too, where I'm like, that doesn't really fit too much, but it's probably like 80-20 where it's given some pretty good, reliable kind of verses or contexts as to maybe just something I want to add into a sermon.
Yeah, and I'm curious, of that 20% where you're saying it produced an inaccurate result, how much of that, and this might be an impossible question for you to answer, but so for you guys watching, I asked Noah what he thought would be a good tutorial for this live stream, and he mentioned the how to craft better prompts, and so I'm curious if you had to guess, of that 20% of inaccurate results, how much of that do you think is a byproduct of just the natural limitations of AI and the sources that it's pulling from, or maybe poorly crafted prompts?
Out of that 20%, I'd probably say
That's purely
more on,
hypothetical, so
yeah, I don't know, probably a little bit more than half, like where if I reworded it or something, it probably gave a little better. Maybe it asked for a specific, like, I don't know, like fear of the Lord instead of just fear. If I kind of expanded it out a little bit, some of the time it kind of fixed itself, but then other times it's like, no, this still doesn't quite work out. So,
yep, sure,
yeah,
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 that's interesting.
yeah.
So, I'm gonna transition to kind of the ethical side
Hmm.
of the use of AI in ministry. And so, as a pastor, I'm sure you've thought through this at least maybe a little bit.
Hmm.
Um, do you have concerns regarding the use of AI in ministry? Do you have concerns over and I deal with this, skeptics who will judge me as a pastor for using AI. Do you have, I guess, just do you have any concerns regarding AI and the use of pastoral ministry? Have you experienced any skepticism like that, or judgments?
Thankfully, no skepticism or judgment too much, because most of the time obviously you don't want to go out in the world and saying like, hey, I'm using ChatGPT to help with sermon, like you don't want to go out with it. But most of the time if I ever bring it up, I'm like, yeah, most of the time I just use it to find references or, things that I try to always kind of buffer it. So it's like, oh, okay, that's why you're using it right away. But probably a lot of, I guess, concerns or anything like that I would have is just I don't want to say overindulgence, but like over relying on it, right? You're
Sure.
almost relying on that too much more than actually getting in your own Bible and relying on the Holy Spirit and really getting at the heart of what God is trying to tell you, rather than just saying, well, I kind of give up. This is getting too hard. It's taking too much time. Let's just go to ChatGPT. I think that's where my worry would always be with pastors using it. It's, and again, I think you guys mentioned it last night. You have to kind of trust your pastor to, be good with it, be obedient
Yeah.
with the tools that are given with it.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point, and this I think pastors need to be aware of this, and I think anybody that utilizes artificial intelligence needs to be aware of this. We as a culture can easily make a unwise shift away from progress and just focus on results. And so what ends up happening is if we can use these tools to create good end results, but we didn't grow ourselves in the process to get to those end results. It's no different than if you were to go to a gym and you go up to a rack of weights and you can't lift them, but instead of working to be able to lift them, somebody else comes and helps you lift it for you or get you 90% of the way. And then you then are able to, post on your social media feeds that you just lifted your new PR, but you're actually no stronger. You're no better than you were before because you actually didn't need to grow through the process. And so it's going to be, I think that's one of the things that makes me most nervous about just the coming AI wave is we're going to get a lot better at producing things without actually becoming better at producing things, if that makes sense. And so that's where we need to be careful, I think. And so we need to keep ourselves honest, and we need to make sure that we're growing in the process. And again, I've joked about this in many seminars, but I think at least the three of us here on this stream right now, and most people watching, were probably all told in math class in high school that we had to learn to do it pen and paper because we're not going to walk around with a calculator in our pockets. But here we are with calculators in our pockets on our cell phone. And if you were to ask me to do long division by hand right now, I'd probably throw the sheet of paper back at you. So, there's a deeper conversation there, and that is a conversation that we're going to get into on this, not this stream, but in future streams. And so there's a lot to unpack and talk about there, but it is something for us to be aware of. Are we growing as people, or are we just getting better at accomplishing tasks? And what's our goal? Does God want us to just be box checkers, just to be able to accomplish something? Or does he want us to be actually growing as human beings and growing in our gifting and our skills. And so that's a good, I'm glad that you brought that up. You mentioned Canva AI briefly. Canva is a fantastic tool. We're gonna have entire episodes focused on Canva. Our church is using it for our bulletins and everything that we're doing graphic design. It's just really the best.
Even before AI, it was so good.
Yeah, and now that they've included some really solid AI tools in there, it's a great. If you're a pastor and you're not using Canva, if you're using Microsoft Publisher for anything at your church, go check out Canva.
Go to Canva. Stop.
We'll have an affiliate link in the description next week for you, so you can go check that out. We'll get you.
And most of the time, if you do a church business account, they let you have it for free too.
If you're a 501c3. Yeah, if you're a 501c3, I got Canva Premium for our entire church, unlimited seats for free. So you have that option as well. So I'm going to give you one more question here before we move into to really the tutorial that you asked for. And so I'll be able to keep you up while we're doing this. But where do you see potential for collaboration between tech and traditional ministry? Is the old way the best way? Is there, are you okay introducing new modern technology? Where do you see that kind of as a slippery slope? And specifically, I'm assuming in youth ministry, your students are all well aware of AI, and so I'm curious what you're hearing from your students regarding this new technology. I mentioned, and I'll let you answer this question in just one second, but I was just talking with my son, who's 9, and we mentioned last night on the stream that we're probably going to do this as a content for one of the weeks, trying to equip pastors or parents to be able to explain and help their children understand what AI is, what it's not, how to use it, how not to use it. And our kids are going to experience AI their entire life, and there's not going to be any avoiding it. And so I'm curious what's going on in the high school in the youth world as it relates to AI.
So I mean, the best way that I can kind of explain it, or at least go through with how I've had conversations with, is the root problem is not a new problem, right? It's just a new tool to get to faster results. And it's, are we holding that at a higher pedestal than anything else? Are we using that above than kind of how we're just saying, just working hard, or like just getting to what it is. But I think it's okay to introduce it, but not rely on it. It can't be your go-to response. It should be, okay, hey, I prayed about this. I went through this. I talked to this person, whatever. Then go back through that process again, and then finally go through ChatGPT or some other AI resource. I think there needs to be some wisdom, and hopefully if someone's in a pastoral position, they have that wisdom already. Hopefully, you would hope so. But I think it can be a very slippery slope, if it's not, I don't want to say checked, but if it's just not with the right intentions, right? If you don't have the right heart, kind of how I was saying earlier, it's like, if your heart going into it is just saying, oh man, this makes my job 10 times easier. Well, like, why are you doing it in the first place? Why did you get into the ministry? Why did you get into whatever? But as far as with youth ministry, like, they obviously have it. They obviously know it. They obviously know social media and everything. And there's been times with students where I've talked to them and they're like, they were surprised that like I'm on social media and things like that. And I told them, I was like, one, I want to be able to communicate with you guys. Like, I want to know what you guys are saying. But then two, it's like, I need to know what things are going on in the world and be prepared to be able to talk to you guys about it. Right. And to be able to equip myself, kind of what this whole project that, you started up and that we're kind of just piggybacking off with you. It's just an extra tool, and so for me, I want to know as much as I can to be able to communicate it with either students or parents or other pastors, even at this point. But it's, how can we use it in a way where it's still honoring God, but it's not taken away from everything else in our lives? And so, but again, that's the same with any other new device, new hip and kind of stuff trend that's going on.
you say hip?
It can all good. I know I did say hip. I feel old now. I gotta get my walker out. Even though I'm the youngest here on this stream. Sorry, Brandon. But
let me ask you a question here. So, because I think you're going to uniquely deal with this in youth ministry, and I don't know that I necessarily have an answer on off the cuff for you, but one of the big fears that I have, and I remember giving these presentations and seminars and talking with pastors, and they always ask me the same questions. It's what's the worst thing that's coming down the pipeline? What are all the ways that this can go wrong? And one of the things that I think is going to happen, and we mentioned this yesterday in kind of a different context, but these tools are made to be engaged with conversationally.
Yeah.
Right. And that's not because the programmers are trying to make us think that this is a person that we're talking to, but because we're having a conversation right now. We as humans, we communicate best through conversation. And so by mimicking that on the computer side, we're able to get better information faster. And so that's why these, ChatGPTs, Geminis, Meta, all these things, Claude, are all conversational, really engines for us to be able to communicate with and get information. The challenge comes with the fact that they're able to mimic human-like interactions really, really well. Yeah. And so there's a lot of different ways that this can and will be used incorrectly. One of the concerns I have is, and if we just put ourselves in the mindset here, it's not hard to envision this, and I would be willing to bet this is actually already taking place. I remember sharing this in a seminar a year ago, and I said it's going to happen. It's probably happening now, where you're a high school student, you're kind of socially awkward, you're kind of a loner, you don't have a lot of friends, people you're bullied, people pick on you, and you don't have anyone to talk to. And you're able to pick up your phone and you're able to say hi to this AI friend. Yeah. And it's going to mirror your emotions. It's going to respond perfectly every time. Yeah. I mean, how long before some really unhealthy attachments are created between human and non-human? And that's where I think equipping kids early, equipping pastors early to be able to, and the illustration I gave yesterday was telling pastors that they need to be prepared that we're not that far away from marriages ending because of inappropriate conversations with AI companions. Yeah. That's going to happen. And again, it's probably happening now. And so I'm curious from you, have you thought about that as you're interacting with ChatGPT? Have you thought about the kind of transhuman side of the conversation, how that might impact your students?
Yeah, and again, I think it all goes back to that over-reliance, right? Is that the thing you're going back to for getting that interaction with, or are you going to a community, right? Are you purposely not going to a community and going to that? Well, there's a problem there, right? Even if it's not ChatGPT, you could do it social media, video games, food. You can put whatever you want in that.
Don't call it my food addiction like that.
I know, I'm sorry. But I think that's what it comes down to. Are you seeking that above everything else? And obviously there's going to be some people who do it and just say, well, this is the easier route. Well, yeah, I'm going to get companionship here. So yeah, I'm having, let's go to the husband and wife thing, hey, this last week was rough. We both snapped at each other a bunch of times. Man, this ChatGPT bot over here is going to always make me feel good. Well, when then you start building that connection of when I'm sad here, well, I can go here, and all it takes is one time of saying, well, I'm not getting what I need here. So let me just keep going back and going back and going back.
Yeah, that's a great thought. That really, it's really no different than any other vice, really. how many times when there's trouble in life, I mean, how easy would it be to try to escape? And that's really what it is, to escape the situation that we're in by going to the bottle, or by going to substances, or by going to inappropriate content online, or whatever it is. This is just one. It's a new vice.
It's a new tool from the devil that he's just saying, "Oh, this is meant for good. Let me trinkle it with my little fingers here."
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, thank you for that. Any final thoughts that you want to share, just from a youth pastor's perspective on AI? I know we'll have you here on the channel again in the future, but want to give you an opportunity to share anything you want before we jump into how to craft better prompts.
I just think it's kind of how we've been talking about. It's, instead of equipping people in fear, we should be equipping them of saying, hey, here's the good side of it, but also not treating it like it's a taboo subject. Like, obviously in the youth ministry world of, you never talk about sex, you never talk about dating, those kind of things. You'd always do it very carefully. And I think this is no different. When you talk about it, you have to be like, all right, this is a serious topic. We're not going to joke around, let's not joke around about it. Let's recognize the highlights, but also we have to recognize what can be the dangers of this,
Sure.
And I think with specifically youth ministry, it's trying to be ahead of what they are, right? And it's really hard to do that because they're always on social media and stuff. It's really hard.
As soon as we figure out what they're doing, they're on to the next thing. So it's a fool's errand. But
and I think that's where it's at. Obviously you can only get so much ahead with them, but I think of understanding why they're going to, and understanding their heart behind it. Because we haven't been in high school in however many years. I'm not going to say numbers because we're all going to feel old here real quick. But it's we remember what high school is like, but we're not in high school anymore. We're not in middle school anymore. So especially as a youth pastor, I'd try to just listen to them first and say, I can understand why you're feeling that way. And then saying, okay, but how can we turn that to not just divulge into this anymore? How do we bring it back to God and not just say this.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Noah, for spending this time with us. And so I'm going to keep you here on the stream. I still got Corey here as well. I'm going to pop up my screen for a little bit, and then I'll probably bring you guys back up on screen here shortly, and we'll talk about this a little bit. If you end up having questions, you guys feel free to you can put them in the private chat on the stream side, or we'll do this. But let me get this set up real fast. Okay, so this week we want to really try to explain a little bit about how these generative AI text-based platforms work. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding. Sometimes I hear this frequently. I asked ChatGPT this question, and the answer I got was wrong, or the answer I got was really off, or it wasn't helpful. And the reality is and this may sound a little simplistic, but garbage in, garbage out. You're only going to get the quality of response based off of the quality of the prompt. And this is a really kind of fascinating thing. This is actually kind of developed into its own skill. The skill of crafting a prompt is a very real thing. And so just like the skill of writing an essay, or the skill of painting a picture, or the skill of anything, it is a skill to craft a prompt in AI. And I know that sounds really weird, and it sounds like it's even awkward to say, but it's just the truth. The way that you craft a prompt will have significant impact on the responses you get. And the reason for that, and we'll go over this, is because it's going to do what you tell it to do. So the more information you give it, the more closely it's going to be aligned with what you're looking to get. And I mentioned this a little bit yesterday as it related to, searching for sermon texts and these different things. It is important, and anybody who thinks that they don't, I would challenge. We all have biases. I have my biases. You have your biases. Corey and Noah have their biases. Part of the challenge for us in any academic setting, in any growth setting, is to acknowledge our bias, so that way we can challenge it and ask, is my bias correct? Is there should I, we don't ever want to be in an echo chamber. We don't I always get a little nervous when people say, I only read books by these people because they align with my thinking. And it's like, well, you're really not challenging yourself, and you're really never going to know if maybe you're wrong if you're only ever listening to people who are affirming you. So there's a side to this where, and we're going to talk about this in the prompts a little bit. We want to be challenged. We don't want ChatGPT to just affirm everything that I'm saying. That's not helpful to me, and as a pastor, that's not going to be helpful for the people that I'm leading. But we do also, if I'm looking for some links or some resources on a passage of scripture, well, I can go into my office and I can go to my commentaries. I've purchased specific commentaries because I agree with their theological understanding of things. Well, that's no different. It's no different than if I ask ChatGPT to give me an interpretation on a passage based off of this line of thinking or this theological perspective. I'm telling it the bias to have to be able to produce the results. If I ask it, to interpret this verse, well, if it interprets that verse from, say, a Mormon perspective in comparison to a Baptist perspective, we're going to get a very different result. And so it's important for us to know the bias that we're giving ChatGPT or any of these tools in order to give us the best response. And so we're going to look in just a little bit. There's really a framework that I really would encourage all of you guys to learn, which is to define the role, the task, the context, the format, and the tone. If you can include those 5 things in your prompts, you will 100% of the time get better responses from AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini or any of these others. In fact, I might just ask. Well, actually, we can't put it in the chat because it'll all disappear. But we'll go through these again. But so I want to just kind of emphasize. I want to share a poorly crafted prompt. If I were to go here to ChatGPT and say, make me a flyer, what would ChatGPT do? It would make me a flyer. It will do what I have asked it to do. Is it going to be what I need it to be? Almost guaranteed no. But what if instead I gave it something like this, and I have some pre-written up ones I'm copying and pasting here. Instead of me saying, ChatGPT, make me a flyer, what if I said, create a printable 8.5 by 11 flyer for a church community picnic, include the date, time, location, and headline that draws in young families, use a friendly and colorful tone. I hope you see the difference in those 2 prompts. One is incredibly specific, and I could even go here and give it some dates. We'll say 7:10. We'll say the time is 6 p.m. and the location is a park, because I'm not going to make up a park right now. But so giving it the information that it needs to be actually able to accomplish. You have to kind of think of this. If I was going to ask Noah, make me a flyer, and I give him no direction into what I want on that flyer, I've set him up to fail. He's not going to be able to deliver a product that is going to meet my needs. And so we have to think, again, as kind of weird as it is, you have to think of engaging with these tools as if you're kind of engaging with I don't want to say person, because people are going to start flaming me in the comments, but a helper who is trying to accomplish the task that you're giving it. And so let me pull up another sample pour, and this one will apply to Noah. Give me some youth group ideas. I mean, it's a little better. We're identifying that it's a youth group. We're needing some ideas, but for what? For games, for Bible studies, for prayer prompts, for retreats? What is it that we're actually trying to accomplish here? In comparison to something like this. Act as a youth pastor, planning a Wednesday night session. Suggest 3 interactive youth group activities for a mixed group of middle and high school students with a focus on faith and fun. Much more specific. We've given it direct parameters. We've told it how many interactive group activities we want. We've told it how it should think. So it's going to think as a youth pastor, knowing that it's for Wednesday night sessions. You're going to get a much better response. And so I want to kind of we're going to go through this, but let's just one thing I want to do. It's one thing to teach you this framework, but I also want to teach you what you can do if you're ever, maybe you forget the framework. What was it? There was 5 things that guy on that stream said that one time, and I don't remember what any of them were. Here, I mean, just how can I just ask ChatGPT? How can I craft a better prompt for ChatGPT? And it's going to tell you. It's going to give you. It's going to say, be clear about the role. We already talked about that. Provide context. Define the format and length. Set the tone or audience. And then it actually gives you a template here that you could actually plug in. You are blank. I need help with blank. The context is blank. Please respond with blank. And so you can just fill in. Or another thing, let's take one of these bad prompts that we used, that we kind of made fun of already. Let's just say improve this prompt. And this was the prompt of give me some youth group ideas. And so I'm going to put this in quotation marks. And we're going to ask ChatGPT. You could literally make this your first prompt before actually doing what you wanted to do. If you're wanting to have AI accomplish something for you, write up in just some general language what you're kind of hoping to have the outcome be, and say, help me develop a prompt to achieve this. And so we gave it, give me some youth group ideas, and its improved prompt is, you are a creative youth pastor planning for a weekly youth group night. Give me fun, and it goes through the whole thing. I could now copy this, paste it down into, and use that as my prompt. And it's going to do exactly. And Noah, I'll send these. You can use these next Wednesday. You got your Mission Impossible challenge, your hot seat testimonies. That sounds like fun. Set up a hot seat where one student volunteers to answer 5 fun, then 2 deeper spiritual questions. Others can ask 1 follow-up question. Great for building trust, normalizing faith conversations. I think that's a great idea. I could totally see that taking place in a youth group kind of discussion type thing. So it's good to remember that, and as you do this more, you will remember these things more. You'll just kind of figure out what works for you, but don't be afraid to just ask it to help you. How can I improve this prompt? The last response you gave me was not what I was looking for. Make it more like this. And that's the cool thing about these. If you've never used things like ChatGPT before, there's a free version. You can just go on and use this, but it's conversational. So I can say, can you explain activity 4 more for me, and create a guide. and it's gonna do that. It's now gonna explain more about that specific activity. It's gonna explain the purpose, how much time you need, adjusted based on group size. It's best for 6 to 20 students. And then say, oh, well, that's actually not going to work for me because I actually have 75 students. And I'm gonna leave my typos in here just to show you that it'll do just fine. So I'm telling it I have 75 students. Suggest a different activity, and then it's going to give me some different activities for that new group size. So the biggest thing here is you want to tell it the role that you want it to accomplish, or the role that it has. If it's you're a financial planner, you're a social media expert, you're a Baptist theologian, you're a secretary, you're a high school youth pastor. Here's the task. Accomplish this task. List out some youth group activities for me. The context is I have a group of between 60 to 75 people. Format, we want this to be fun. We want this to be a fun, interactive, engaging time with the students. And then hit enter. And so I'm gonna pull up Corey and Noah again here. And so I'm just curious what your guys' experience has been in line with this. Have you seen both of you use, I think, primarily ChatGPT, but can either of you speak to the impact that fine-tuning your prompt has made when engaging with ChatGPT? Let Corey go first. Corey, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I know there's specifically one thing that I've been working on that I have been kind of working on in my spare time, just kind of playing around with the capabilities of ChatGPT as an AI, and I have been trying to figure out how to get it to give me random numbers and random results and that kind of thing. It's a long story. Just trying to test out its capabilities.
Sounds really nerdy, whatever you're talking about.
It is extremely nerdy. So I was having trouble getting it to actually do that because it couldn't give me actual randomness. So I straight up, like you did before, I straight up asked it, as this type of AI, are you even possible of giving me an actual random number? And it straight up told me, no, I am not. However,
try again.
I can give you if you ask me this in this specific way and tell me to use this type of algorithm, I can simulate randomness, and that's the closest I can do. And so I then took that and I added that into the prompt that I was giving it before, and suddenly it was giving me the random numbers that completed the number randomizer that I was trying to do, and it suddenly worked, and it was so it. The thing that I've been using a lot recently is when I'm having trouble getting it to do that last bit of something that I to get all the way there, I will literally ask it, what am I missing? What else do I need to get? What else do I need to ask you for you to do blank? Because this is what I want you to do, and then it can help me fill in that last blank.
Yeah, if you can identify the hoped for end goal, it can help you put together the pieces to get there. And so that's really helpful. Noah, what's your experience been with I know, so you asked for some help in crafting prompts, and so what's your experience been? I mean, have you been kind of using these methods? Is there some new stuff here that you're going to kind of try, or
I think it's kind of like a mixture of both, where it's like I'm not doing it enough, so like it's not on the top of my brain of like, oh yeah, that's right, I can do that. But when I'm like deep in the weeds, I'm like, why don't it just be more clear? Why haven't I been more clear with whatever I'm kind of going with? So there's an event that we have coming up. It's funny that Corey was mentioning random numbers because I kind of needed the same thing with an event that we're doing. I'm running like a mystery night to where, you know, they sit around the table, they have to figure out kind of a mystery event that, you know, I make at this point. And one of the things I needed ChatGPT to make for me, because I was not about to do this because it would have taken me a while, was basically give me a cipher, right? Give me some sort of cipher with randomness of just letters to numbers. But it was always giving me like 1 is A, 2 is B. I'm like, no, I need more random, you know, and I wasn't being clear enough with it that I needed it to be more challenging or anything like that. So the more I kind of played around with it, I finally was able to get up to something that I liked, that I enjoyed with it.
And
That made it challenging, but not too challenging. No, you're good.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And to piggyback off that, once you get to that point, like for example, when I was trying to create this number randomizer, and then I was able to, well, specifically with ChatGPT, but you can do this with multiple AIs. I was then able to say, okay, let's give this let's give this little randomizer that we have created a nickname. And so I was like, and then I told it to remember the nickname, and it put it in its little memory. And then ChatGPT actually told me that I can do this, and it works. Whenever I was doing something that I wanted it to apply that set of instructions that did the whole that ran the algorithm and the number randomizer the way I wanted it to, I would just say use I was like use fill in the nickname, and then on this on this this task I'm doing, blah blah blah, whatever it is, and then it will apply all of those rules that ChatGPT helped me build to that new conversation, and it just rolls with it, and it works really well going forward, so that you don't have to rebuild every time that you do an event. You don't have to rebuild and remember what was that long like paragraph that I had to write like a whole paragraph to get it to do what I wanted to do. You just say, hey, remember this. Here's the nickname. Every time I use this nickname, and say, hey, use that thing, it'll apply it to that new game or that new whatever it is, your activity that you're putting together for the group.
Yeah, and there's just so much opportunities. And I think what we're gonna wrap up this segment. We're already over time, but I want to share some closing remarks. I want to thank you, Corey and Noah, for joining us on stream again tonight. And so we are going to be streaming again next Sunday. I don't know exactly what the format of that stream will be yet, but again, make sure you hit that notification bell, and you'll get notified when we do go live. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Thank you guys again for joining us on the stream tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Noah and Corey, thank you. And so as we're wrapping up this stream, I want to just briefly kind of rattle through some of the cool ways that this technology can help pastors. And I want to just kind of rattle off. I mean, these are some of the things that we're going to, and this is not a all-inclusive list. I don't have this written down. This is literally just off the top of my head, but some things that we're going to be tackling on this channel. And so if you're wondering if this channel you may want to subscribe to, if any of these things are things that you want to learn, I would encourage you to continue to check in on a weekly basis and see what all's going on. But we're going to look at graphic design, content creation, social media, how to create graphics for bulletins, your sermon slides, how to be able to do all that using AI. We're going to talk about, I have certain tools that I currently use almost daily, where I basically record and transcribe entire meetings and then have that transcript automatically summarize the meeting into minutes that can be distributed amongst team members with next steps, tasks, assignments, all done immediately, basically accomplishing what a secretary would be there taking notes in person. And I found significantly better, nothing against secretaries, but just more detailed notes with specific tasks and next steps and timelines. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about custom GPTs, which is a specific thing inside of ChatGPT where you can create your own dedicated AI platform where you're able to kind of train it on the stuff that you specifically want it to know. And so you could have a custom GPT that is trained specifically on your church's constitution, bylaws, and operating procedures. And so when there's a question that comes up at your church about whether you're in compliance with something, I mean, you could, instead of having to go find the manual and find the constitutional pamphlet, you could have a conversation with your custom GPT as if it is a expert on the organizational structure of your church. That has saved me a lot of time, and has been allowed us to be able to navigate through some kind of dicey situations, and make sure that we are doing everything appropriately. The last thing we want to do is accidentally not being compliant with something. And so there's some tools there for that. We're going to talk about video creation, for sermon bumpers and intro outro type stuff. We're going to talk about even audio creation and music. We, at the end of each of these streams, we're concluding the stream with something from one of our sister channels, and I'll just pull it up here. One of our sister channels is called Verse Vibes, and really the whole concept behind this YouTube channel is just taking scripture and turning it into music. And this is all done through AI. And this is just a cool platform because it just allows us to kind of just get to enjoy scripture and listen to it and meditate on it. But the other cool thing, and I didn't realize this when we were doing it, but by being able to create custom music like this, it actually allows, I've found myself making music to go in the background of videos that I'm creating to be shown in church, where typically to have any sort of good audio, and you're having to deal with copyright strikes on YouTube and Facebook, and so you're actually able to kind of put your own music in there and not have to deal with any of the the copyright violations of streaming some song that you don't have the rights to stream. And so there's use cases there. We're going to talk about deep research. A lot of these AI, Gemini and ChatGPT, both have deep research capabilities now, where you can see just in any of these prompts, you can ask it to do something and it'll give you pretty good information in about 3 seconds. This deep research takes that same program about 15 minutes to do, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but there's a lot taking place, where you can ask it to do a deep research on a subject. And say you're preparing you're going to be giving a sermon on baptism. And so you want to do a deep research on the differences between, infant baptism and believer's baptism. And you want the pros and cons to both and the scriptural support of both. And you can do a deep research, give it 15 minutes, and you'd be given about a 60-page document from about 30 sources, all cited throughout, with basically master's level research on the given subject. And so there's just a huge tool there to allow pastors to, even though, and this is where it can be easier, but actually far better quality of study material than what you might just have sitting on your shelf, or what you just might happen to find through a Google search. And so there's a mind shift that needs to take place there, but we're going to spend an entire week and we're going to talk about that. But I also, to go back to what we talked about at the very beginning of this stream, I want to know what you guys want to learn. Help us help you. Is there something about AI that you're struggling with? Is there an ethical dilemma? Is there moral concerns? Is there just logistical concerns? Is there fear that AI is going to take over and it's going to turn to Skynet? What is it? Where are the hangups for AI for you? And reach out to us. Leave it in the comments, even if it's not during the live stream. We do check up on all the comments later through YouTube, and this video will get posted as its own thing. We'll clip out some other pieces of this. And so just comment on any of the AI for Pastors videos. Let us know what it is that you'd like us to speak on, and we will move that up to the top of the list and prioritize it, because the reason we're here is to help you. And so I want to thank you for just tuning in, watching this either live with us or in the future, whenever you happen to stumble upon this video. Thanks for joining. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're notified when we upload, as well as when we go live. Join our Facebook page, AI for Pastors, and also check out the Discord link in the description. These are all just places where we want to build community, and we want to just to kind of support each other as brothers and sisters in Christ. And so I want to thank you guys. As I mentioned, we're going to conclude this stream with a verse vibe from our other channel. If these are things that you kind of enjoy, we're producing more content on that channel as well. There's not a ton on there. It's kind of a work in progress, but you can certainly go over there, verse vibes, and subscribe to that channel as well. But we're going to go ahead and play this for you, and we will catch you in the next one. Thank you.
Joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Galatians 5:22 and 23. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Galatians 5:22 and 23. Peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Galatians 5:22 and 23. Gentleness and